Some people buy equipment, some people build things. Here at DIY Singh, we do both. Whether it's restoring land, building a working farm, testing equipment, or tackling projects most people wouldn't attempt, you're coming along for the ride. Welcome to DIY Singh. So, if you've been shopping for a Flail mower lately, you've probably noticed one thing. They're expensive. I spent quite a bit of time comparing different brands, reading reviews, and trying to figure out which one offered the best value for the money. Eventually, I decided to take a chance on the MechMaxx VAM60. Now before we even get to the unboxing, I've got to tell you a funny story. When I placed the order, my browser decided it knew better than I did and autofilled my home address instead of the estate. And somehow, I completely missed it before submitting the order. So instead of having this delivered directly to the estate, I ended up loading the entire mower onto my trailer and hauling it over myself. Not exactly how I planned to start the project, but hey, sometimes that's just farm life. So here you'll see me unloading everything from the trailer, getting it positioned, and finally opening the crate. The mower arrived well packaged. Everything was securely strapped down, and thankfully there wasn't any visible shipping damage. Once all the packaging came off, it was finally time to see what I'd actually bought. Now, the biggest reason I chose MechMaxx was the price. Compared to a lot of the other manufacturers, it was considerably more affordable. But I'll be honest, this purchase was a gamble. I really had no idea what kind of quality was going to show up on the truck. Sometimes lower prices mean lower quality, and I was fully expecting there to be a few compromises. But after getting it in person, I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. The first thing that stood out to me was how solid everything felt. The steel is heavy. The welds look clean. The paint is nicely done. Even the hardware and the overall construction seemed much better than I expected for the price. Now obviously, first impressions only tell part of the story. The real test is going to be how it holds up after months, and hopefully years of actual work. But right out of the crate, my initial impression is definitely positive. Assembly ended up being pretty straightforward. Nothing about it was overly complicated. However, for the last piece, it would have helped to have a second person around. It does get a little tricky to hold it up and line up the holes for the bolts all by yourself. Other than that, everything lined up the way it was supposed to. Even so, I took my time. Whenever I assemble a new product, I always go back and double-check every bolt, every nut, and every connection. The last thing you want is something working itself loose once you're out in the field. This mower is going to be running behind my 2026 TYM 4058PC, which is a 58 horsepower tractor. One question I got asked quite a bit is, why did you choose the 60-inch model? Why not go bigger? The answer is actually pretty simple. According to MechMaxx's website, the VAM60 is designed for tractors up to 60 horsepower. The next larger model is recommended for tractors above that. Since my tractor comes in at 58 horsepower, the 60-inch mower seemed like the perfect match. Could I have gone bigger? Maybe, but I'd much rather have an implement that's properly matched to the tractor than constantly asking the tractor to do more than it comfortably should. To me, that's the better long-term decision. With everything assembled, it was finally time for the part I've been waiting for. Hooking it up, starting the tractor, and seeing how this mower actually performs. Because let's face it, a mower can look fantastic sitting in the barn, but none of that matters if it doesn't perform out in the field. I'm planning to use this mower for maintaining trails, cleaning up pasture, knocking down overgrown grass, and keeping the estate looking its best. So if you've been considering one of these MechMaxx Flail mowers, hopefully this video gives you a good idea of what arrives in the crate, how difficult, or in this case, how easy the assembly is, and whether it's worth considering for your own tractor. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to DIY Singh. There are plenty more projects, equipment, and tractor reviews, farm projects, and hands-on builds coming soon. So until next time, keep building, keep learning, and never be afraid to tackle your next project.